place to be is living free in Tennessee.
Hey, Kerry, do you want to be on my show?
I guess so.
Are you sure?
Too late now.
What are you getting yourself into?
No telling this time around.
Welcome to Living Free in Tennessee, where we talk about building the life you choose on your terms. Today is Tuesday, January 13th, 2026, and I actually have no idea which episode this is. It's been a day at the holler. We've gotten a lot done. But I'll put the number in the episode when I produce it as an audio podcast. It is an interview show today, and I am honored to have Kerry from Strong Roots Resources here to talk about the Living Free in Tennessee food forest, which he is the food forest whisperer, just so you know. And he's been implementing a plan to use progressions of plantings to get it into a state where it becomes less difficult to maintain. Because my goal is to not have to mess with it. So, but I want the food.
Exactly.
Absolutely want the food. So he agreed to get into that. We're going to talk about the method of that. Before we do that, though, I want to talk about a featured event of today's show, and that is the March 7th Combat Midwife training that's going to be at the Base Camp Lodge. You can go to combatmidwife.com to get your ticket. It's the Nashville one. And it goes from 8 until 5. So she's going to be on with me next week to talk to you more about what is in the class. This isn't just about birthing babies in emergency situations. It's about any manner of emergency interventions you may have to take in a situation where you may not be able to get to the hospital right away. That can happen if you're iced in. That can happen if a tornado hits. That can happen if a hurricane hits. That can happen in a wildfire. That can happen if there is civil unrest. Right? So there's lots of reasons you could be in this situation. And she talks about preventing infections that can kill people really quickly, kill women really quickly. She talks about some pediatric care that you might need to take. And it's a hands-on class. I believe there will be fake blood involved. It's a really good training. It's worth every penny. Check that out. Just go to the Combat Midwife's website, sign up for the Nashville class, and then we'll have her on next week to talk about it a little bit more. I also have 2 sponsors to thank. The first sponsor is Discount Mylar Bags. If you are doing what I do in freeze drying food and putting it in Mylar bags, why not get your bags from one of the people in our network? Check out discountmylarbags.com for that, as well as some great food storage tips. And he has other like food preservation, food processing things on his website. Our second sponsor is Strong Roots Resources. And that like literally just happened in the rotation today without planning. So Strong Roots Resources is run by Kerry Brown, who is sitting next to me right now. And you can hire him for things like a consult, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. What's that look like?
That looks like at least 3 to 4 hours on your land, walking around. My primary goal when I do this is to understand my customers' goals and help the customer understand their own landscape. And then we make those 2 edible landscape design decisions together at that point.
Yeah, that's something that's going to come up today a lot with the food forest, because we don't want to plant a bunch of things in my food forest that I hate. Right?
Right.
And we don't want to make a food forest that requires 3 hours of manipulation every day, because we know sauce isn't going to do that.
It's not going to happen.
That's not going to happen. So by understanding the goals and the time investment and all those things that you have on your land and what you want to come of it. Do you want to grow meat? Do you want to have a grounding garden? We were just talking about putting one of those in next door at base camp, or anything that you want to make your life awesome and or get production off the land. Somebody like Kerry, who's an objective set of eyes, is really great to have come out, walk around, help you with your planning. But you've created a bit of a niche in the wild edible world, haven't you?
Yeah, I can't help but study and see what's going on any size landscape in terms of the wild medicinals, the wild edibles, other plants that have a variety of uses, what's good for fence posts, cordage, things like that. So if my customer so chooses, we can do that exclusively, or we can do that as part of the consult and the ongoing consultation.
So Strong Roots Resources also runs classes from time to time, and the new schedule will be going up soon for 2026.
Yep.
So check that all out at strongrootsresources.com. With that, who is Kerry and how did you end up on my podcast, really?
Well, we met officially back at the Rogue Food Conference in January of 2020 before things got weird, and we started attending the events out here. My wife and I have had a wonderful time. Met a bunch of wonderful people in the community. So this has just become my extended friend group and family, really. And it works out. We have enough similar goals. I have a skill set that is beneficial here. You have a site that needs the TLC. So starting last summer, we kind of set up a little arrangement to help address some of the perennial food systems here.
Yep. And the reason I know you is you insinuated yourself in my life after listening to my podcast, right?
I probably emailed you first.
Probably.
Maybe with some topic ideas or something of the sort.
That would sound like something you'd do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I got to know Angel really well.
Mm-hmm.
And she's awesome. So Kerry's been a pretty strong community member just in the wider network. And I've learned a lot from him. I'll just put it that way. Like every time we go on a wild edible walk here at a different season, I'm like, oh, this is what this is. And then I start having ideas of how to cook it. So I really want to start putting together some of those into culinary experiences without it boring people.
Yeah, that event we did with Chef Ken was a ton of fun. So I'd love to do more things along those lines.
Yeah. And even the farm to table dinner was great. But then while you were out there and all the greens, I was like, I needed him out here this morning and all the greens so we could cook the greens. Because there were additional greens I hadn't found because I didn't know about them.
Yeah.
So yeah. We'll get it done at some point.
We will.
But let's talk about the food forest. So how did the food forest come to be? Tell us about that.
So in October of 2023, we had some students out here alongside Nick Ferguson, and we did pretty much a raw installation. So Nick pretty much led the charge on most of that. I was kind of here to hang out and help, be an extra set of hands. We had our friend Alex out here doing the earthworks. So we went from really nothing happening out here in the lower portion of the front yard to earthworks going in, multiple layers being planted at once, trees, shrubs, some herbaceous layers and things of that nature, some cardboard, some mulch, and we kind of zipped it up at the end of that weekend so that the students could kind of see A to Z installation, which is awesome if you can keep after it with the maintenance. So that was the setup.
Yeah, and part of the approach we took at that time was to not plant it densely on purpose because I was keeping it under a certain budget line to show that you can do it.
Yes.
And then propagating from the plants, which we've done some of that. But I remember when Nick asked me how many hours a month do you want to put in on it? I said 2 hours a year. And he's like, well, that's not going to happen at first. And I was like, well, let's just get it done and then we'll go from there. And then I promptly ignored the whole thing. Right? Yeah.
It got a little wild down there. Got a little jungly. And I think I made like a couple of visits in 2024 to kind of
reset
it a little bit. But by summer of 2025, you and I were like, let's actually like make this a plan and fix this and get this underway. Yeah. So I've been monthly since the summer.
Yeah. So, and then picture it this way. Where we put it from a microclimate standpoint is like just full on blazing hot in the summer. Mm-hmm. It just gets assaulted. And so part of the thinking behind putting the forest there is that the trees will get taller and shade eventually. But they're not being shaded at all. And it's inferno. And so any of the interplantings that were smaller without added watering, when we have dry, hot spells, they turn into ashes.
Yes.
So anything that survived the original install is never going to die, first of all, I'm pretty sure.
We have tested it to its limits.
Yes.
No doubt about
I mean,
that.
the trees were fine, but The other smaller plants, I have some very robust oregano down there.
Yeah,
That's what I have. And I've killed 5 or 6 blueberry bushes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the environment we're dealing with. We did do some sort of like mini swales that are designed to flatten out over time to help keep some of the water in those places, and so I could put a hose at the top of them, which I actually did from time to time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's probably why the trees are alive.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, they're alive. Yeah. Everybody's alive except for there was that one back there that almost died, and I think it actually made it.
We pruned it back and it's rebounded fairly well.
So that's where we're at. And then we're also, the other environment in Tennessee is that stone fruits have a hard time here. Yeah. So my dog was making a really weird noise, and that's a happy noise.
That sounds like a really good
I thought she was growling. Nope. Now she's not happy.
The cat.
The cat was washing her face, which I thought she liked. She also makes that noise when she's happy, and then she just touched noses. Okay. Anyway, distractions. So what's the new approach?
We're kind of slowing down the whole process. We're being a lot more intentional about it. So when I got in there and I dug out the 12-foot tall giant ragweed and things of that nature, and
I can grow some ragweed.
You can grow. I wish I knew of very many uses for that. It does have some, but yeah, you got a bumper crop. Got in there and recovered what had survived, and realizing that what the soil is really trying to do up there is heal itself.
Mm-hmm.
It got literally upended. So we worked up quite the seed bed by doing those earthworks. And so I've been pretty heavy on mulch in whatever form we can get to around here, wood chips, the leaves, straw, hay, whatever we can get, and really trying to get that soil to not be so weedy. And I think one of the first things I did, I think it was around September, so started dividing the comfrey. And I think the comfrey is kind of going to be our ace in the hole on this whole thing. So we know that the soil wants to heal itself. We know that that means weeds are going to show up. And in this case, it was stuff that we really did not want to play nice with. It wasn't the kind of weeds that we welcomed. And so I have taken many root cuttings of comfrey, and I've plugged them in all over the place very densely. I think we were still pretty hot when I did that, and some of them have shown up, but not very many. So I'm going to do it again.
Well, you can hit that under there. Yeah.
And we've got those two big plants. So I'm going to do that. I don't see why I couldn't do that in February, as long as we're not like truly frozen.
Mm-hmm.
And so I want that comfrey to be our soil coverage, our best friend plant to just keep that kind of micro low growing canopy over the soil, while the trees that we've added and that we retained and the few shrubs I put in today have the opportunity to get established, and for that shade to have a chance to really start to fill in over the next couple of years. As we go along and we want to start adding other layers, I'm anticipating maybe a year between adding these additional layers. So, we're going down to our herbaceous, our ground cover, things of that nature. And anywhere that we want to do that, if there's a comfrey plant there, it's not a big deal. We'll just dig it out. Let's go ahead and dig it out, divide it. And anytime you break those roots, you just get, and I should clarify, we're using one of the Russian varieties of comfrey here. So it's not the native stuff that self-seeds.
Although that's here too.
That's here too.
It'll probably pop up out there.
Yeah, it's not nearly as big as the Russian Bakken is. As we pop those comfrey plants out and those roots break off, there'll be other little plants that pop up, but I don't anticipate them causing any trouble.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're feeding the soil. We can do the chop and drop. They're medicinal. You can use them to feed all of your livestock. So in my opinion, too much comfrey is not going to be an issue here. And you can do this method with comfrey, and people also do this with nitrogen fixing. Trees, shrubs like senna is one that I've used on other sites. And these are things that you can also chop and drop. And when you need that spot to plant your next layer, maybe you dig it out, maybe you just cut it back and you plant next to it, and you just keep your nitrogen fixer kind of
Short.
coppice down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of the approach going forward. Is we're keeping the soil covered. We're doing whatever light maintenance tasks, hopefully light maintenance tasks, are needed, and kind of awaiting more canopy coverage.
And my approach in helping Kerry with this has been, how much mulchy type of stuff can I source so that whenever he's here, he doesn't have to mess around with trying to figure out where that is. So we gathered up as many leaves as possible. Valerie helped us with this over at base camp. We actually ran out of time with we borrowed the chipper from Steve, and we got that done. We borrowed his blower too. We have even more leaves to gather up. Yeah. So that, I think Nighthawk might be working on that this weekend. We'll see on some more of that, but we've just been, either piling them in the chicken coop that we don't have chickens in right now, or scattering them about the yard in plastic bags, or putting them up where we need them. And that's really what I've been doing. And then my plan, as I get the biochar system back up and running, is I will probably occasionally sprinkle random handfuls of biochar.
Yeah.
Because that's just going to get worked into the soil over time and will help. Because the problem with the soil isn't just that it was upended clay that doesn't have a lot of tithe to it. So getting any organic material in there or biochar to help it retain moisture better will help.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we have some really good compost. So sometime this spring, when things are waking up, I'll be sprinkling compost around, and I usually spray with compost teas anyway. So
yeah,
it got a lot of compost tea last year, actually. Which was great for the ragweed.
Yeah, and I had an inoculant, I forget exactly what variety now, but I brought an inoculant in the summertime and treated all the trees with that, as well as we were, kind of discovering what really needed it. And that seemed to make a difference as well. So this whole process, I really try to encourage people that if you, when you are working with a full sun open area like what we did here, you have got to be prepared for that seed bed to be very, very aggressive in covering that soil back up again. And it's not that we didn't cover it when we initially
did. We put wood chips on
it. We did, and we did them thick, but it's they integrated so fast because of the nature of the soil structure here. So that's just something I think people need to understand and be prepared for. When I tell people get a hold of carbon, I am not kidding. So for people who, this is easier in the suburbs. This is so much easier in the suburbs. And so I'm a little bit, even though I'm on a farm in the county, we are surrounded by the suburbs. But if you can, drive around your neighborhoods for the people who bag their leaves for whatever crazy reason and throw those leaves in the bed of your truck. Other options, in addition to things like chip drop, a lot of your Ace Hardware and big box stores, Lowe's, places like that, when they need to clean out the trailers that have the pine straw and the wheat straw, they got to pay an employee to do that. Ask if you can help them with that. I have a regular pickup for the Ace Hardware down the road from us. They sweep everything into this big plastic bin. They load it on my trailer with the forklift. I take it a mile down, dump it, bring it right back. So, ask around your all of your your nurseries, plant, all those plant places, Site One places like that. Talk to those guys. Bring them some lunch. See if they can. If they're not too. Sometimes they get a little bit. Legality, liability wary. But in general, they like to help people out. So go ahead, have your carbon sources lined up. Even if that just means you're raking leaves out of the woods that are adjacent to your yard, have your carbon sources lined up before you start messing around with the soil. And it doesn't matter if it's a food forest or an in-ground garden or raised beds, you're just gonna need it.
Yeah, and you can get rotting grounds of hay in the country.
Oh yes.
But those sometimes come with rotting grounds of hay seed that puts grass seed in. So you got to kind of be careful with that. But yeah, I think on the food forest, that doesn't matter as much. in this particular application.
Especially as thick as we can make it here. We make it thick enough that it's not very likely to actually germinate. But yeah, that's a good one too. Plenty of people with old hay hanging out in barns, and if you ask nicely, they might even be able to bring it to you if you're willing to throw them $100 bill or something like that.
It's also wood chip mecca season here.
Yeah,
I forgot about that. It's time for us to start making rounds to the wood chip mecca.
Yeah,
I wish I had a better way than hand scooping those, because it would be so much faster with like a bucket.
I know. If there was, so is that like a municipal site or private property?
No, it's private property, and it's a local arborist, and he chips up everything and then dumps it in this back area of his property. He's okay with people coming out to scoop them, as long as nobody. I guess somebody went out there and did target practice once, and that's not
cool.
Don't leave your garbage there. No partying. It's like, just go get your stupid chips and leave. Yeah, and that's what most of us do. And I think the reason it's not a widely shared opportunity in the county, because the people who use it don't want idiots messing it up. And so it's like, unless I know I can trust you not to be an idiot there.
Yeah.
It's not the word I'm thinking of right now, but I'm trying not to say the F word on my podcast.
Yeah.
So
be, like being in the woods, leave it better than you found it.
Yeah, exactly.
Because so many arborists have land that they dump their material on. Some of them will load for you. We have a guy in our, not far from us, who, usually at least one day a week, he'll be out there with, a front end loader, and he'll be loading people up.
Yeah.
And so, this is Facebook Marketplace is the best for this kind of stuff. Use it for that. Find out who's trying to what some people perceive to be a waste stream to some of us is money in the bank.
Well, and also, so Tactical has been getting into woodworking, and now we're getting wood shavings.
Yeah.
And then there are 2 sawmills nearby, and one of them I know for sure. I think they charge $5 or $10 a bucket full into your car.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it's worth it.
It's sawdust.
Yeah, it's sawdust. Even if you're just working that into a compost system, it's getting to where it ultimately needs to go. When I saw up logs, I collect them all in one location. I have my sawbuck over a tarp. And so I collect all that sawdust from when I'm bucking up logs to length. And that usually just ends up going, for the chicken coop. But again, we're closing that whole loop. So, but yeah, have your carbon lined up. That's kind of, I think that's like a preparatory thing I'd like to encourage people to be on top of.
So Amy wants to know, what do you consider very densely spacing when planting comfrey?
I think I was putting these cuttings in like a foot apart.
Yeah. And comfrey plants get big here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was accounting for like probably going to be a fairly high rate of failure, because I was trying to do this when it was hot. So yeah, maybe go denser if you're trying to do it in the heat. If you're doing it in cooler weather, you got a greater chance of them actually rooting for you. You could go a little bit wider, but more is my thought on that.
Yeah. So how is this? So I'm looking kind of at your notes. Like, how is this going to go? So right now we're putting a bunch of comfrey in and lots of mulch.
Lots of mulch. I did add some shrubs and a couple of trees today that you had requested. But I do not think I will be planting any other layers into the coming spring and summer. I want to focus on making sure that soil has calmed the heck down.
Yeah.
Basically, let's make sure we're not going to have another round of heavy duty weed suppression needs.
Yeah.
I know we talk a lot about cardboard and wood chips. You're probably going to have to do it more than one time. And even if you can go very, very, very thick to start with, I've had to do in my own food forest, which is also almost entirely a full sun site. There's places where I've had to go back and basically patch with more cardboard to get ahead of, in my case, it's normally like brambly stuff.
Yeah.
Coming up.
Yeah.
Because it's an old cow pasture.
Yeah. Every location is going to have a different fun seed bank.
Yep.
Yeah. That just is what it is.
Yeah. So maybe
I used to get a lot of purslane here, but that stopped happening.
Yeah, so I guess you've got enough organic matter now that those little guys that really just hardly root at all. You've got enough organic matter that stuff doesn't feel very welcome anymore. But man, anything that wants to throw down quite the root structure like that ragweed. I mean, I was digging out roots I'm not kidding, guys. It kicked my butt. They were huge. I was using my heavy duty shovel to get them out. So yeah, this coming spring and summer, I really just want to kind of keep an eye on everything. Light whatever maintenance is needed. Not really spend a bunch of money adding stuff. Keep the carbon going on, and if all that goes well, we can start talking about the next layer being added.
Yeah.
Maybe in the fall or spring 2027.
So is that like more shrubs?
Yeah, probably more shrub layer and higher growing herbs.
Okay.
So I know
like oregano.
Oregano, if you want to give another go at rosemary.
I always want rosemary.
Yep. And I've got a really good list. So if people want to shoot me an email, I have curated a list, and I've also basically the outline that Nicole and I are working off today is more or less a step-by-step. And if you guys want any of that, just holler at me and I'll send it over to you. But I've got a pretty well curated list for East and Middle Tennessee. Get much outside of that, you're going to need to make some adjustments. But this is kind of my hyper intensive zone that I'm very familiar with. That's what I've developed it for.
Which makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry, Margot in Florida. It's not going to be the same for Margot.
Well, maybe if she buys land up here, it'll be perfect for her.
Come on up.
Yeah, come on up. And then, so with that happening and getting the microbiology in the soil more active, I feel like it's not very active in the food forest. It's probably more active now, but
it looked better. So the trees I put in today, I dug down a good ways to kind of look at everything, and it does look better.
Okay.
We had actual a little bit of topsoil going on.
Oh wow. Yeah, I was dumping compost tea on that for a year.
Yeah. So it's getting there.
Yeah. I don't know if that's what did it. I'm sure having all the mulch really helped. That's key.
Yeah.
So so after that, how long do you think it'll be before we can do vining and all of the other? Remember that really cute vining plant, the the kiwi?
Oh yeah.
Is that even still alive?
It might be down there. It looks like that.
Yeah, it's looked like that since it went in.
Yeah.
It's not happy.
Of course, those things are going to need some kind of trellis system, and I don't think the trees that we have presently are going to work as a trellis. We could definitely try. We could try some passion fruit. We can do some passion fruit.
Okay. Yeah.
And you can actually let those climb your trees because they're they grow maybe 6-8 foot long vine, and they'll ramble on the ground too if you let them. I try to get them to train up my trees. We could give those a shot really anytime. That's a very low cost. I've got passion flower seeds everywhere out there. But I would say probably the following spring. And, we can decide how we want to train to a trellis. And I'm starting to get away from the kiwi personally. I've seen these on multiple sites and they're never very happy. I've found one on one site that was prolific, but it was the male plant, and the female plant just never caught up.
That's so funny. I have a friend who has one that's totally awesome, but it's not in a food forest. She just set up its own place.
Yeah.
And I wanted to grow it because I like eating kiwis, but I don't eat them really much. So it's like not even...
Maybe not worth...
maybe not worth the squeeze. The juice isn't worth the squeeze on that one. We'll see. Grapes are always welcome.
Yeah, and muscadines do very, very well. And your little muscadine plant is doing fine.
Is it alive?
There. It is alive.
Oh, it's poor thing.
We just need again, they need trained. So with the way yours are laid out, where you kind of just have your upper and lower swales, and then we've got some of the trees here at the top of the rock wall, we would have to figure out what kind of trellising system would make sense. That's not going to interfere, muck up the access.
Yeah.
So that is certainly something we could probably be looking at quite possibly in the fall, like fall of 26.
I also want a pane garden put in at some point.
Okay.
And that's for all the thorny things.
Okay.
So at some point, we know where the rose is, but at some point I want the wine berries.
Okay.
And some things like that. And not interplanted the way everybody wants me to do it because of the thorns. So I'd like to have a system set up that may be a little bit less permaculture and a little bit more traditional because nobody likes getting poked by the thorns.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Like I've got my wine berries basically on the upper edge of my food forest, and so they kind of have their own spot.
Yeah,
and because they do, they root sucker, and so they kind of want to spread themselves around. If I see them pop up outside of their spot, they just get pulled out because that's like the one place I'm willing to bleed to get to food. And wineberries have such a short fruiting period anyhow.
Yeah.
It would be a pain in the butt if they were kind of mixed in with everything.
Yeah, and I'm just doing the thornless blackberries, but I'll tell you, as a person who's originally from Oregon, the blackberries are not as good here.
No, they're not. They're not. I've got some that I got established in my spot that are, and they're thornless, and they're pretty tasty.
Yeah.
But they're still not. I mean, they're nothing like the kind that you have to go get scratched for in terms of the flavor. It's definitely not the same.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, so talk about your seasonal task guide here. So how do we keep this thing going? What are you doing spring, summer, winter, and fall?
All right. So if you're brand new to starting, if you've got a brand new site, you've chosen your site, you've not put it down in a very low spot where you're gonna have a frost pocket or anything like that, you're gonna have adequate sunlight. If you need to do earthworks, obviously do that first. Don't do that after you've tried to install plants.
Yeah, don't do
do that first. And if you need and want to irrigate through either a passive system or a drip irrigation system, go ahead and have that laid out, because it's so much easier than trying to work around everything. Fall through winter, so more or less October through the middle of March, that's when I prefer to plant trees and shrubs. Any perennial you can put in that window. Everybody wants to do the trees in the spring when they show up at the nurseries. They have a hard time getting settled in because we can get so hot so fast, and we can get very dry. So give those trees a chance to root while they're dormant, and you're going to have a much lower rate of failure. Comfrey, you can do the comfrey thing fall through early spring. It works much better than trying to do that in the summertime. Mid-fall is when you can seed your your cover crop. So if you're going to do clover, any kind of nitrogen fixer, annual rye, things like that, you can put your perennial herbs in, and you can dig and divide all of your perennials. So if you've got things that are really clumping, same way people do, like their iris and daffodils and stuff like that, you can do them in the middle of the fall. And winter is mulching, amending. You can propagate your hardwood cuttings pretty much anytime through the winter. So if you are doing things like your fodder trees or willow, any of your anything that'll root from a cutting, you can do in the wintertime. Spring, that's when you want to sow your annuals. So if you're doing like an annual warm weather cover crop, or if you're just throwing in like some nasturtiums or some pretty little edible flowers in amongst things, that's when you do it in the spring, once your soil temperatures are appropriate. You can plant your perennials, like I said. Be prepared to look after them a little bit more if that's when you get a hold of them. And you can also do some propagation of your greenwood. So new growth cuttings you can propagate in the spring. Summer is just trying to keep stuff alive. Keep mulching, keep the soil covered, maintain, weed it if you have to weed it. And if you're doing any kind of like successional sowing, calendula was one that I did really well. I was sowing it like every few weeks through, as long as the soil was warm, and I was getting calendula all throughout. And so that's just kind of a quick, bit of a step-by-step what you can be doing. There's people think they have to do like everything in the spring and summer, and no. This kind of thing is definitely a year-round project.
Yeah, well, and I think what I did with my food forest last year was, when I had extra random plants that didn't fit in the garden, I stuck them in there, and I was like, hope you live. And I got probably my best squash crop came off of there, because the squash vine borers didn't know it existed.
Yeah.
So I find if I just move them around, and last year my strategy was plant a lot of squash plants under the hopes that some live.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm doing with squash this year. We will see.
I mean, I don't see any harm because you think about how broad the leaf of the squash is. So if you need to get some soil covered in one form or another, it's not going to hurt anything else in there. I mean, I did a bunch of pumpkin in mine. I kind of had like an open area in mine under a catalpa tree that's still fairly young. And I mean, those pumpkins did great. And all I did was poke some seeds down in the soil.
The Gardens for Life says perennials for the win, lower maintenance equals more time to expand the gardens.
Yep.
And then Tori says she propagated cuttings of her grandmother's gardenia thanks to you.
I'm glad that worked.
Yes.
Cool.
Yep. So I do also have my raised beds for the things I just like to grow.
Yeah.
What I don't have interplanted out there that you should be aware of should be interplanted is eventually elephant garlic is in the picture because it's perennial here.
Okay. Yeah.
And then you just always have a place you can go get garlic if for whatever reason your other garlic didn't do well.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So that's one I for sure will add. So I brought this out. This is a tangerine.
Yes.
This is a very special tangerine.
Okay.
The reason that tangerine is special, Valerie was driving in Florida and found it growing, pulled over and picked them. And she was just like so excited to see these wild growing. It wasn't really wild probably, but wild growing, just growing on the side of the road. And they have seeds. So these are the seeds. And I ate one and it tastes like tangerines used to taste like.
Really?
And I did not become aware. She was like, it's bigger than tangerines because we're all used to the cuties.
Yeah.
Which are seedless and very sweet. This, you can have that one.
All right.
But they taste like tangerines tasted like when I was a kid and it was delicious. And I realized how much the commercial food system has changed something as simple as a tangerine to not be a tangerine anymore.
We'll have to see if I unlock a core memory.
Yeah.
Eat that.
Yeah. So that was something it made me think of it when you're talking about, because I have some Meyer lemons from her dad's backyard as well. So I'm very excited to use those. I just haven't done it yet. And then I saved the seeds, not that they grow here, but I have a little pile of tangerine seeds. That could be a challenge right there.
Yeah, you're going to want a fully climate controlled greenhouse.
Yes.
Yes.
Indoor growing situation. I can mail them to Margot. That's what I can do.
Yeah. We'll let Margot give it a whirl.
Yeah. Cause like there's probably something I could do to make this happen at my house, but I'm not willing. Like I already have the banana. And the banana takes time and thought. And every time you add something weird that's out of your zone or your climate zone to make it work, it's extra work.
Yeah.
So I'm putting that in on a coffee tree maybe someday.
Yeah. I mean, I admire people who like to, kind of really stretch the season and get really creative with that. But I've kind of gotten to the point where I like to work with things that are I just know it's going to work. So for the sake of the ease.
So I'm looking at the different layers you're talking about, like that we're going to work in here. And we get down to the fungi. My question to you, since I'm growing mushrooms inside, and I end up with spent fruiting blocks, do you care if I bury those in the food forest, random places?
No, not at all.
That's what's happening. Yeah. So I've been doing an experiment in my grow system with the mushroom blocks that I bought in early November for the farm to table dinner. And they weren't blooming for that. I am still getting mushroom blooms off those things.
Nice.
And I am almost 3 months in. But at some point they're just gonna stop.
Yeah.
And then I have like over there on the counter, I have the mason jars of like those are ready to be made into fruiting blocks. So I'll be starting some new fruiting blocks.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's a really novel way of continuing to introduce more, fungal life into the soil structure there. So yeah, let's see
what happens. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I know Jack has been planting them all over his yard and occasionally gets a random oyster mushroom somewhere weird.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If he can do it there, we can do it here because we have rain.
Yeah.
I have a resource he does not have.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So, let's go back. So you are doing the succession approach or the progression approach in the food forest now. And you told me, like, in general in Tennessee, you think that's the best way to go rather than trying to plant it 100% all at one time. Can you just tell me why you've come to that conclusion and why that would be different here versus somewhere like Texas or Wisconsin?
Yeah, so being kind of the temperate rainforest that we are here, but also the fact that we can get very, very hot for sustained periods of time and get very dry. If you are doing it in the manner we did here, in the manner I did mine, which is an open space where soil gets disturbed, unless you really do truly can be honest with yourself and you have the time to keep up with the weeding and keep things covered, keep the soil covered, I think this slower, more intentional approach is going to be way more successful. It does slow you down. You're not going to get the return, or rather the crop, as quickly as other methods, but also, there's been a lot of loss, which sucks, so you will probably end up in the long run doing better in terms of your harvest and the money and the time that you spend. If this is being done, if you have a forest, like kind of an overgrown forest that you are thinning and you are adding in these other layers under existing canopy. So let's say you thin down to keep your major canopy trees. So maybe you've got some pecan and some walnut and some hickory, and you're adding some fruit trees beneath that in your other layers. You might not have to be as slow with that particular process, depending on how much the soil gets disturbed. But just keep in mind, anytime, I don't care if it's in the forest or out in the open in full sun, if you move that soil around, stuff's going to come up. It just does. Same with, like, maybe you're working like kind of you're planting into an edge. Edges have a lot going on. They can be really active places. So I'm kind of in favor of slowing the whole process down so that you actually have the time to notice what is changing, instead of trying to, kind of in our, modern Western minds, do it all at one time. You miss a lot of details that way, in my opinion.
So permaculture, you were saying slow your roll.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
Observe and interact.
Yeah.
Go back and review those principles again. Anytime I'm on a project and I'm starting to feel like I'm spinning my wheels, especially mentally or whatever, I go back and I'll look at those principles and I usually figure out which one I need to pay more attention to.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so I see on your notes we're talking about infrastructure and wildlife support. Why?
Well, I mean, we want to do this not just for food for us, like we're trying to improve the greater landscape, the greater ecology around you. So there's like some extra add-ons that you can do in any system. I don't care how big or small it is. So, be composting in or on the edges. No reason to have your compost over on the far end of the property. Do it right there. There's no reason why you couldn't. Leave certain edges kind of wild, as long as you can maintain up to a certain point so that we don't have the weed issue we discussed. Put in, if you want, hives, bat houses, bluebird houses, bird houses, period. Little brush piles, so that your ground critters have places, your ground nesting birds have places to hang out. Water features, bird baths, a little solar fountain in there to keep the water moving. Put in some rocks and marbles and things that the small insects can rest on. The bees need to be able to sit somewhere to drink. And think about what kind of browse protection do you need from deer, rabbits, squirrels, sheep. Fencing can fix that. But the Billy Bond's bone sauce, very well reviewed. So go over to Permapasture's farm and order some of that from him.
Be careful where you put that stuff.
It can be incredibly effective.
It's very effective. So if you like to hunt, don't put it where you're going to hunt.
Yeah.
Because the deer don't like to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the kind of the old timer is daffodils. Apparently daffodils are very off-putting to deer.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes people will plant on like not the closest perimeter to your forest, but a little further out if possible, perimeters of daffodils. And when those daffodils, because they're toxic to deer. And so when those daffodils are coming up, that is also when your trees are starting to bud out. That is when they suddenly become very palatable to deer. And so they will.
I'm pointing to my bag of daffodil bulbs that never got planted this fall. If you're interested,
Okay.
we could put some of those out there.
Yeah.
If you want to.
Yeah. And so having those there, because the timing works out.
Yeah.
The timing works out. When those are up, they are less likely to come in and start biting off new bud growth and that sort of thing.
You know, I'm an optimistic person, right?
Oh, very.
I got really optimistic at the garden store in October, and it's all over there in the bag except for the crocus that's in that pot over there because I forgot. I forgot I even did it.
It happens.
Until the crocus were growing through the bag.
Well, they put it all on sale in the fall. And
yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's good to put the stuff from the garden center in the ground.
That's generally how it works.
Yeah. But then I didn't. So.
Well, I mean, we can go ahead and put them in. And they might not get enough chill hours. And again, they might because we've been super mild.
Yeah.
So they really haven't
it's
even
dropping to 10 degrees next week.
Yeah. It's going to happen again. So.
Yeah. If not, whatever. I actually know where to forage wild daffodils in this immediate area.
Yeah, I'm sure they're all around all the old homesteads around here.
They are.
Absolutely.
There's a place here I call Daffodil Hill. That's an entire hill of daffodils underneath an old homestead.
Yeah.
The deer haven't touched it for 100 years.
Yep. That tells you something.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So I have a different way of dealing with deer, and she's right behind you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you got the dogs running interference, that is great. My dog likes the couch a lot these days. So, and we do have deer around. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I've got some of these perimeters kind of in play to help mitigate. And we have a lot of open space between where my food forest is and where the deer tend to come out of the woods, and they don't like to cross a lot of open space because they don't feel very safe. Mm-hmm. So that can help too if you can design for that.
Yeah. Well, I just have barky dogs that chase deer. So in general, the front part of my property is not deer attractive, but they do go on the back.
Yeah.
Even though the dogs will chase them back there, like that. If you were planting anything back there that's sensitive to deer, that's where we have to think about.
Yeah.
That. And sometimes I like having deer around because deer are delicious.
They are.
So there is that thing. So, well, you also adjusted the fodder system because we have the food forest up here and the fodder tree system further down the hill, and we need more fodder trees. I got fodder trees that propagate really well from Nick Ferguson, and I became aware with how easy it is to propagate poplar when I kept my fodder trees in pots for the summer, because what happens when I get bare roots and put them in is, in general, they don't do well. Mm-hmm. And so I get the bare roots that come out about this time of year, and then I put them in pots for a whole season, watering them. And then in the fall, I'll plant them is what usually happens. I did that with the poplar trees, and the roots came through the bottom and started new poplar trees.
Yeah, I've had it happen with willow. I've had to, dig out willow pots from the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah. So last month, I coppiced all of those down, took, I don't even know how many cuttings, a lot. And I'll do a lot of cuttings in one pot. I don't see why you need to just put one. Like I put a bunch in like a gallon pot or a 3-gallon pot. And we stashed all those at the back porch over at Tactical's cabin. And I'm sure, by mid-spring or so, we'll check and see if things are rooting. Probably leave them in the pots for the season, like you said, and then plant them out in the fall. So, about a year from now. And then we'll be able to kind of fill in down there and have a more densely planted fodder row where you guys can come in, cut, gather. It's on a relatively flat section, so you can get the 4-wheeler and a trailer back there, and then you can take that material to the rabbits or the sheep or whoever needs it.
Yeah, and we left that wider open because people put tents there at the spring workshop. And with the expanded footprint, I'm not sure how many people are tenting down there at this point.
Yeah.
People tend to end up tenting further from where the loud is for that event.
Yeah.
at the property next door.
Mhm.
So I think that's just something. I think that's why we didn't originally. That's why we kept it on the extreme edge,
Yeah.
and then we could run sheep through there.
Yeah.
So the sheep loved that a lot. But what else about the food forest?
So there's a couple of things. If you've got your forest installed and you've been, kind of keeping up with it for 3 or 4 years and you're happy with it, what some of us don't get a chance to really get into, because we really focus on the initial installation, is it is okay further on down the line. Sometimes things get cut down. Sometimes you find out you need more space. I know David the Good talks about this. He plants stuff super, super dense.
Mm-hmm.
Because he'll get a hold of stuff that's like really inexpensive, or he's propagated a lot, so it hasn't really cost anything. And so he plants for a lot of density, and then he will occasionally cut stuff down. And so it's okay. And so, at some point you will be kind of managing it like a forest. So, dig around. There's a lot of good forestry guides out there, and kind of familiarize yourself with what light forest management looks like. What pruning looks like. We could do a whole episode on pruning, and I'm not the greatest at it. I'm still getting better at that. But there's a few rules to follow depending on what kind of tree you're working with. And because you're working with stuff that is specifically adapted to your soil, and if it's doing well, propagate from that. Learn how to propagate off of what you're already growing out there. So your stone fruit trees, they don't propagate from cuttings. Rarely, if ever. Apples, pears, they have to be grafted. But most of your berries, your brambles, they propagate off of cuttings, off of tip layering. So you can take the tip of the plant, bury it. That will become a plant. All of your blackberries, raspberries, all of those will tip layer. So, at that point, kind of, play around with it, experiment with it. That's kind of, you've created an ecosystem. It's a pretty cool thing to do. I mean, it's one of my very favorite things to do, is to take what was essentially a blank space that didn't have a whole lot going on, at least not above ground, and start plugging all this stuff in and seeing how it all works together, and let it teach you. That's the biggest thing. Don't keep trying to insist that it's going to do a thing. Understand what makes sense for it to do, and kind of follow the lead that nature is setting out there for you.
I think it was maybe 2012 when I learned that lesson in this way. So I started on this property in 2007, and it was not supposed to be a homestead originally, but I put my garden up where the garden obviously would go, which is not in zone 1.
Not even close.
Not even close. But that's where the garden had been. Therefore, I made the decision to put the garden back where the garden had been. And I remember reading about square foot gardening and all that. And I put a square foot in this one place that was perfect for it. And this annoying weed kept coming up that was very woody, and it had these little leaves. And I would pull that thing out and whack it back. And I did that for 2 years. And no matter what I did, the stupid weed came back. You know what it was?
It was probably an artichoke.
It was elderberry.
Well, there you go.
And that elderberry really wanted to be there. And when I figured out what it was, because then over time, the reason I'm more on the permaculture side now, because I was an organic gardener before, I realized that whipping Mother Nature into submission is a terrible idea. It takes a lot of time. And it was that elderberry plant that taught me that because it would come back through rock, through weed cover. I couldn't dig all the roots out. No matter what I did, there was an elderberry plant there.
Yeah.
And I remember trying to grow lettuce there one year, and it was not happening because of the stupid elderberry plant. And every time you go in to get it out, you're just disturbing the soil, and it messes everybody up.
Yep.
And I decided I had a raised bed with an elderberry plant in it. And when I realized what it was, I was like, oh, it wants to be here. This is where it's meant to be. And sometimes what I think is a weed is actually a very useful medicinal plant, as a matter of fact. And what needs to happen is there needs to be an elderberry there.
Yeah.
And so then that was where I got most of my elderberry crop for years, until the redneck actually came in and annihilated everything up there. He did annihilate everything up there, except for the asparagus.
Yeah.
That's part of the reset that's happening up there.
Yeah,
but
I mean, there's a lot in flux around here
yeah.
right now, which is fine as you guys kind of work towards your new goals. But
so the only way to really kill the elderberry plant is be a redneck who gets bored and constantly hit it until it's actually gone. But
yeah, I mean, it's certainly possible.
Don't
to
worry, it's
exhaust,
been propagated other places
Yeah.
on my property.
exhaust
so.
the root system of something. It might take a while though.
He can kill Jerusalem artichoke too. I'm impressed.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when Tactical sets his mind to something,
Yeah.
watch out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I planted ground nuts in the yard last year.
hmm That's one I haven't actually done myself.
I don't know where they are anymore, so there'll be surprises.
We'll keep an eye out for
You're
them
gonna
in the
have
spring.
surprises, yeah.
Yeah.
I got those from Spearco too, and then I got rid of the pot that I had them in, and I was like, I'll remember it's here.
I
will.
Feeling
Spoiler alert: she will not remember where she put it.
when we get like truly warm in the spring, so maybe by maybe May, so like probably after the workshop, I'm probably just gonna need like a weekend out here with my notebook of just walking around and figuring out.
Just come out and stay.
Just like what do we need to move? What do we want to propagate from? What is there anything we can dig? That kind of thing, because it's just gonna be, with the amount of soil disturbance that's happened back here, it's gonna be interesting.
Yeah.
Yep.
So Tori says, I've been wanting to take cuttings from a local U-pick lady who knows my coworkers. She prunes the bushes every spring and lets my coworkers do the work in exchange for free fruit. But she says they definitely won't propagate. For U-pick for what, Tori? Blueberries? They'll propagate.
Yeah, blueberries are a little bit harder, but they will.
Blueberries send out shoots, and those are easier to propagate from.
Yeah.
In my experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. Blueberries. Ha! Nailed it.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
They're a little bit harder. I haven't had a ton of success. They need very, very even watering. Like they don't like a lot of flux between dry and soggy. So, prepare for that. But yeah, go for it.
Yeah. So Tori, ask her if they put out sucker plants, because those will come with roots and those are easier to keep alive. And then with those, I keep them in pots.
Yeah.
Just like I do with a dry root.
Yep.
So that would be my thought on that, or buy blueberry plants. I believe rareplantstore.com usually has pretty good blueberry plants every year.
Yeah. Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
I think we might have had a couple more questions up towards the top there.
Oh, so this is what I have. What is Kerry's email address so that I can send him a message and get his list?
Thank you,
That's
Margo.
from Margo. Yeah.
strongrootsresources@gmail.com. Yep. That's how you can get a hold of me. Email is the best. I can keep up with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You guys just holler. We've got a Telegram group. We get in there and talk about all kinds of plant, farm, animal stuff. So I can shoot you the invite link for that if somebody would like to hop on.
I feel like we should start a spiritual discussion group about God.
Okay.
With you, me, and Jenny.
All right.
We might need one other perspective, but it could get weird really fast.
Oh, I mean, there's all kinds of rabbit holes I can go
I know. I'm saying like that would make a fun Telegram
group.
It would probably tick some people off, but it'd be fun.
People don't need to get their panties in a bunch. We're just having conversations.
I know. Well, you learn stuff that way, right? Yeah. There was a really memorable weekly gathering, and it was headed by a very fundamental Christian family in the area, and all of the people from the communities around here that are like, we have a lot of queer communities around here.
Mm-hmm.
So some Buddhists, some like all sorts of different perspectives. They would come down and discuss religion every Thursday night and have a potluck, and it was one of the best, coolest ways to learn about different faiths, but also about like some core values that are shared that people don't always realize are shared.
Yeah.
So as an aside.
Yeah. Well, our audience and our friends, they know, like, in the real world, 99% of people are getting along and finding common ground in all kinds of ways. And and what the mass media is telling you is only intended to keep you riled up. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah. We're having a lot of riling right now. That's why I bring that up, because a friend of mine posted about the ICE situation. It was at Minneapolis where that happened.
I believe so.
Yeah. And she is very careful about giving reasoned opinions on things.
Mm-hmm.
And she put a picture up and said, if you have shared this picture, It's AI generated, and they've added things into it to manipulate you in a specific direction. And that's why when something like this happens, like, and so she's using it homeschooling her daughter on how to process these kind of things. Like, you may have an opinion one way or the other, but put that aside and try to find the actual facts. And now with that layer of AI, you have to be really careful when you see things.
Anything, practice and hone your discernment.
Yeah.
About all things, especially if it's showing up on a screen.
Yeah.
I don't believe much of anything unless it happens right in front of my face.
Yeah, I'm kind of getting there too. Margot says, I took a world religion class in college and it was one of my favorite electives. Yeah, it's really a fun thing. So I know that doesn't have a lot to do with food forest, but it does, because when we all come together in the food forest, working towards setting up a system that is working with Mother Nature and not against Mother Nature, it's long-term easier to maintain than fighting the elderberry plant in your garden. You can build your garden around the elderberry plant.
Yep.
You know, and it also reminds us that we all have some core needs and we are all human. And working together on something like that is a whole heck of a lot more productive than arguing about what somebody said on the internet. I guess there was a big old like movie award thing that just happened or something too.
I must be ignorant of that.
People are like, you know, it wasn't the Emmys, but something like that.
Yeah, and don't take the bait, guys. Don't take the bait.
Yeah. We got stuff to do. We
got stuff to accomplish. We got people to take care of.
Yeah.
It's, it is manipulation. So, we'll practice discernment and be wise and go out and plant some stuff.
Yep. Go out and plant lots of stuff. So with that, if you like the show and want to support the work I'm doing here, you can do it in 2 ways. 1, get your coffee right over there at hollowroast.com. Tink. 2, consider becoming a member. You can find out more about that at livingfreeintennessee.com. Also, our monthly meetup is going to be Saturday the 24th here at noon. And that's at the Base Camp Lodge. I will have the Facebook event out probably by tomorrow. Tomorrow's my last day. I'm working this week because I'll be at the Pick Tennessee Conference Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So I'm just trying to cram everything in that's like timely. Anyway, with that, go out, make it a great week.